Is anybody else losing their mind that it's February? No? Jerry's like, no, no, yeah. It's not your first February. You get it.
No, but it's like January was just totally overwhelming from my perspective. Just all the things happening there.
Yeah, it went. I think January went in a flash. Claire, what about you? January, regular January for you?
Yeah, no. The older I get, the faster it goes. And since I'm another year older, we're speeding through. I can't believe we're in February, but the computer, which I know works, says 24/12/01. So, like it or not, it's over. It's gone.
Yeah, Adam, did you fly through January? Is it business as usual?
No, not business as usual. Flew through it. Claire, I love the fact that your computer's actually telling you the exact minute because you're counting the minutes here. No, very busy January. I mean, just everyday work stuff is very busy, but then I think you have all of the swirl around the country and politics and changes in law, and that has made it even busier.
Yeah, it does seem like we've had, I mean, just the last couple of weeks does seem like a year. It seems like a lot happened. like I know politics are part of that, and without getting into the politics, it does feel like the news cycle is just kind of makes time travel slow down a little bit.
Yeah. So, yeah. A lot happened. I don't think any of us can ignore it. A lot has happened, but which gives us even more work to do in this space.
Well, I'd always rather be busy than bored. So
I'm with you there.
That's true. TA mantra for sure. Yeah, it's a cycle. It's all cycles and trends. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. They keep telling us it'll be fine. All right. Well, we do have some fun research we're going to talk about today. We're going to do our best to steer clear of some crazy politics. You guys ready to jump in? Kind of talk about some discussions?
Let's do it.
All right. Yeah, here we go.
Welcome to the CXR channel, our premier podcast for talent acquisition and talent management. Listen in as the CXR community discusses a wide range of topics focused on attracting, engaging, and retaining the best talent. We're glad you're here.
Happy February, Jerry.
And a happy February to you.
Yeah, look, for those who are joining us, my name is Chris Hoyt. I am hosting today with Jerry Crispin. This is the Recruiting Community Podcast. What we do is we work to bring insights and kind of what's going on in the space to you in a form of conversation regarding talent acquisition and within our industry. We're excited today. We have two professionals in who are friends of ours, also CXR community members who took part in a research project that we launched last quarter, and that gets published later today. So we're very excited to make that available. It'll be free to everybody. So we're going to dive in and talk about that a little bit. Jerry, I have news for you. I've got a big update.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where you're supposed to ask me. Well, what update do you have, Chris? Yeah. So we have a new
what
podcast bump.
Yeah,
we have a new podcast bumper. So we have some new music coming for next week. So I'm very excited about it. New jams, new introduction. It'll be great.
I like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. Why don't we bring in our guests? We could get a very anticlimactic. We'll go ahead and bring in Claire and Adam here really quickly. There we go. All right, so let's do this. There we are. There we go. Moving around on the screen a little bit. So Claire, Adam, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, let's do this.
That you guys have going on here.
Well, Adam, why don't we start with you? Let's do a quick introduction, Adam. Why don't you kind of explain before we jump into the report and some of the things that we loved from the research. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Adam Glassman, who you are, and why this research was kind of fun for you to jump into? Because what we did when we put this together, this really was takeaways from the research on strategic employer branding. For those of if I didn't mention it on the intro, so this is near and dear to both of you. But Adam, we'll get started with you, and then we'll hand it over to Claire. So Adam, why was this important, and who the heck are you?
The age-old question, huh? So yes, thank you for having me. My name is Adam Glassman. I'm a director of marketing at Cox Enterprises based in Atlanta. I have been in the employment branding, recruitment marketing space really before it actually even had a niche space, before it even had a name. I've worked on the agency side, I've worked on the client side. I enjoy the space. I get to do a lot of really advanced strategies, advanced marketing as part of Cox. Employment brand and recruitment marketing is still a passion point for me. So happy to have been involved in the study and happy to be here today to talk about it.
Good stuff. Well, we're grateful for your time. We're glad you joined us. And Claire, how about yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. It is an absolute pleasure to be with you guys here with my Career Crossroads family. My name is Claire Mason, and I'm the Employer Brand Manager for BASF Corp. In my role, I'm responsible for setting and executing our employer brand strategy and driving global initiatives that highlight what makes BASF a great place to work. So part of the reason why I really enjoyed and jumped on to the opportunity to be a part of the discussion is really because I am passionate about this space, passionate about cultivating a workplace culture that not only attracts top talent, but certainly retains and engages them. And as we know who are on the, I guess, discussion side of things, we got a lot of information that helped to fuel that. So happy to be a part of today's discussion and happy to have been a part of the discussion and the research that was conducted late 2024.
Yeah, very excited to have you and loved having both of you in it. For those who were not aware, we do quarterly research pieces. This last one that we did, we're going to dive into a little bit, just talk about some of our favorite takeaways, but you can find out more about this. I've put the URL on the screen. It's just cxr.org/research where you can kind of check that out. You can download any of the other reports that we have done. I think we've got 5 that are listed, 5 that are listed out there now. Like I said, this one will be available later today and into tomorrow to be published. And those are all free. So if you want to grab those. And what we do when we put the research together is we take experts like Claire and Adam. We get about anywhere from 30 to 50 of these panelists, put them together for about 5 weeks and talk about a particular topic. And we dig right into that. And the output is usually a series of blog posts and then ultimately a report. And in this case, I think about 30 pages of information that comes out of this. So just a lot of stuff. I'll give you a highlight. We split it into 4 themes. We had employer branding as a strategic differentiator. We had evaluating and refining employer branding. We did aligning employer branding with broader corporate strategies, and we did employer branding as a strategic leadership priority. And each of those had a full week with a series of conversations within those. Jerry, I want to give you a chance. Was there anything that sort of stood out to you as we kind of went through that research? Was there a topic that kind of resonated with you?
Yeah, I mean, what I was most interested in is how we're evolving the definition of recruitment marketing and employment branding and how the two fit together, or whether we're really looking at 2 different silos. And I thought the conversations around those pieces were particularly interesting to me, and I learned a great deal.
Yeah, nice. Claire, how about you? Was there a topic or section within the research that we did that sort of stood out to you, or a big take home, or maybe even an oh shit moment or an aha moment?
I think aha moments for sure. I think one of the things that really resonated with me was just the idea of, as Jerry alluded to, bringing the topic of employer branding really into play as a strategic differentiator. I think that I often refer to it as, the age-old fight that we used to have, right, with bringing HR as a strategic partner to the table. And I think that we're having that conversation now with employer branding. So just elevating it to our leaders, helping them to understand and really positioning ourselves as really an interdisciplinary discipline that really requires marketing, HR, communications, recruiting. It's all of those pieces that really enable us to do what it is that we're trying to do, which is to, attract and retain and really develop culture. So it was exciting to me to see some of the same things, right, resonating with a lot of people. I'm relatively new to BASF. I've been with BASF just since October of 2022, and it is a massive organization, right? Very family oriented, I must say. Feels small at times, but when you're working on something like employer branding, it can seem overwhelming. Where do you, where do you start? And I think that you guys, I applaud you all for creating these spaces, right, where we can talk about these things and talk about the challenges. The other thing that was very insightful for me was just understanding that we all have similar challenges. I think when you're in a new company, you're trying to build things, you're just like, okay, who's on first? But what resonated with me is, regardless of the industry, we all seem to have similar challenges and similar things that we have to work with, many of which we'll talk about, which things like, how do we measure the impact of employer branding? How do we separate it from corporate branding or not, right? The debate around those things. So much resonated, but a key takeaway for me specifically was not to boil the ocean. I'm in the process of building a dashboard to try to do just that, to measure out what our impact is, specifically our employer branding team, to our business objectives. And the one good thing I can say is I'm no longer boiling the ocean. I'm going to pick one or two things that I know that I can impact, while I'm really building the case for some of the other things that we know that we influence, but that takes a longer time to, to really resonate and impact the culture of the organization.
Cool.
Yeah, it was an interesting bit. It was an interesting bit of dialogue in the research. Like, as a panelist, we're talking about sort of that piece, Claire. I think, to your point, is aligning any type of tracking and measurement to the larger business strategies. And I was really quite surprised, although I guess I shouldn't be, but I was really pretty surprised that a lot of the metrics were a little softer when it came to sort of aligning to what the corporate functions were looking for. And I think we had a survey question that was, if they believe there was sufficient enough sort of commercial rigor that had been applied to any employer branding from a cultural capabilities, right? So attracting the right cultural capabilities. And I think only 70%, which is good, but 70% said that they agreed, right? But it was over 30% that came in and said, no, not so much. So I think it's a really important call out.
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree. We're trying to make the case and figure out what the right things are. I know personally, I'm looking at really, we look at metrics all the time. So I think there's a distinguish for me personally from, what is operational? What do I use to help inform my strategy? And then what is it that leaders want to see? And what are the things that I believe are important to them? How are we driving retention? How are we getting the right applications and quality candidates, and the things that we all know that are important? But fine tuning that and working with all of the the various pieces to get that is it can be a challenge. It's going to be worth it when we figure it out, but while we're in it, it's not always an easy thing to do.
Yeah, and I would say, having been responsible for an employer brand like yourself at a very large organization, sometimes the bigger the organization, the harder those relationships are to establish and to sort of nurture outside of sort of the TA umbrella. So getting those partnerships on the consumer brand side, right? When their focus is just on the commercial aspect, on the customer aspect, right. It's a little bit different. And sometimes our messaging or what we want to do is seen as a detractor from their mission, right? Getting the purchase clicks or getting the attention on these other, social initiatives or that sort of thing. So there's an alignment that can sometimes be hard to get.
Right. I think we are doing a decent job at that. We are aligning ourselves certainly to the corporate strategy. There has been a global employer branding team that was put in place, I believe, in early 2023, which is really helping just drive that cohesiveness that we want, not without bumps in the road at all, but certainly at least we have a group of people who are really dedicated to this space and dedicated to seeing all the aspects, candidate experience, employee experience, all of the aspects of employer branding come forth. And so because of that, that team, I think at least now, I have responsibility for US and Canada now because of some structural changes, organizational changes internally. But having that team in place really allows me to take the US perspective and bring that to the global team so that at the very least, as things are coming about, we can ensure that the US is represented and that we are really speaking as a one BASF, regardless of the many of, the countless ODs, the groups that we have in the organization, but just to ensure that we are still speaking one BASF narrative that is really based upon our core values.
Yeah,
And,
for
and
sure.
Chris, with that too, I would even say you saw it through the research, and I'm a firm believer that there are some best practices in employment brand, and there's ways to do it right. But so much of this needs to be customized based on where you as an organization are and what your needs are and what your talent needs are and what the space you're in looks like, because there could be a massive difference between how you approach employment brand and recruitment marketing if you're a very small organization in one or two cities versus the largest enterprises across the globe that Claire is talking about. You approach that differently, and you should. And I think we saw some of that in the research too, of how people were talking about their strategies.
Yeah, agreed. There's a
Yeah,
marriage. I like to call it a sandwich. There's a sandwich that needs to happen, right? The things that are happening at the higher level of organization, and then what do you do with, the specific job strategy, what's happening there, and how do you marry the two? So yeah, the sandwich. You gotta, gotta have to get there.
Who doesn't like
Put
a
some meat
sandwich?
in there.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. It's
I
12
think
o'clock.
I think we did you're making me hungry too. I think we also had a survey in there where we asked if the organization relies more on corporate consumer brand than the employer brand to bring talent towards the organization. I think like 42% said yes, but about 44% said it was equal. So they're equally relying on both. So kind of to your point, so there is some messaging there, and there is some cohesion there for those that are kind of doing it right.
Yeah.
I have a made up stat that I'm going to share with you.
Lay it on us.
And I love made up stats. So through this and what you see in the industry, I would venture to say there's probably 10 or 20% of the companies doing it great. They are well above everybody else. They are just killing it. They know exactly what they're doing. They have the right people in place. 10 to 20%. There's probably another 50 or 60% that are trying to figure it out, and they're giving it their best go, but they're butting heads. They may or may not have buy-in from their executives. They may or may not have budget. They may not have headcount or a team, but they're giving it a go. And then there's probably another, I don't know what percentage I'm at. There are probably another 30 or 20% that pay it lip service, and they really don't put the effort into it. They don't care as much. And I think you'll see over time that those companies will falter.
It's interesting. I don't know if they're made up or not. Well, you did say they were made up, but I will say that I'm happy I'm not in that bottom 10 or 20. I'm happy that we're not there. I think that we're really right, because I was just like, whoa, that's kind of scary. I think for us, it's really about putting together those touch points. And for me, it's really about the cohesiveness. I keep saying that because I think that's so important, so that the people that we work with on a day-to-day basis understand that employer branding. I would say I'm hired for a job, right? I have accountability for employer branding, right? But all of us really impact and influence what our brand is. And I think it already exists. What I can do is highlight the strengths and speak to the areas based on what I know to be marketplace standards of what the workforce is asking for, and make up those differences, right? To bring those to the attention of senior management, and to bring those to the attention that can make the changes in that journey, to be able to make the changes and the impacts that will drive our brand outside in and inside out. I don't know if that made sense, but it right here. I go with another sandwich. Maybe I need to find another analogy.
And Adam, what you raise is certainly in my mind when you're talking about that made up piece is a maturity index for where we are in relation to that. And I think it's perhaps, Chris, something that we could be elevating with the kind of research that we're doing. It might be possible to do a little bit better job in looking at the way in which recruitment branding and recruitment marketing and employment branding are evolving, and build a maturity index, and then survey companies against that. And I suspect we'll come up with some of the same numbers that you have, Adam.
And I love that idea, Jerry. And I would even say, and I've said this to colleagues at Indeed and LinkedIn and some of the other industry conferences, I would love to see a conference set up that way. So if you think about like unique tracks based on where you are in your maturity level as an organization or as a leader in this space, what information are you looking to gain? Are you looking for advanced skill sets and advanced discussions? Are you looking of hey, I just came into the space and I don't know what I don't know. Those are two wildly different discussions that you could have.
I love that. TA Week is going on as we speak. I think they should be paying attention to this conversation, because that's a good idea for them.
Well, because I think, and I won't share the results, but I think one of the topics that had come up, and I think we did a survey on this too, was if folks think that compared to 3 years ago, compared to 3 years ago, our C-suite executives sort of prioritizing employer brand. And there was some interesting discussion there, but I think to both of your points, if you're talking about demonstrating a value sort of long-term, right, that long-term value to leadership, I really think it comes back to EB's impact on those measurements that speak, right, that will speak to leadership, like retention or candidate quality, and whatever that means at your organization, right? But different business outcomes, and to maybe use storytelling to kind of get you there. Because if you're highlighting those cost savings partnerships, like where that value is coming from with other functions, I think that's going to help get that alignment and that buy-in, regardless of it's either going to strengthen it or, Claire, to your point, where it's having to be built from scratch, it's kind of going to put you at the table to really have those discussions.
Yeah, I think that's the case, Chris. The challenge with it, from my view, is twofold. Number one, these are long-term trends. These take time to influence. You cannot snap your fingers and all of a sudden from one day to the next completely move the needle. So it does take time, and you have to have the buy-in from your executive team to give you that time and leeway. The second is how many other variables are inherent within that data point or within that metric that we're talking about. So you talk about retention. Can employment brand actually influence if the employee has a bad boss? Of course not. So if somebody quits, somebody leaves because of the nature of their job, their boss, their salary, those are things that we could elevate in conversation with the executive leaders and with HR and with the CEO and say, hey, look, here's what we're hearing. Here's what the sentiment is on Glassdoor. Here's what we're seeing through our employee surveys. But to be held accountable for those has some inherent challenges as well.
There is the long-standing debate on TA being held to retention. I think that goes a long way. But there's also something to be said about a refined message that brings in talent that is more appropriately aligned with that culture or aligned with where they'll sit, right? And so that they know what to expect. Those expectations are sort of set up. And I agree with you, Adam. I think there are touch points throughout that sort of carry that all the way home. But I do think it plays a part. It can play a part if crafted well.
Yeah. And I would just add, and I would say that for me, that's exactly the approach that I've taken, is really looking at it from the journey experience and understanding what the touch points are and how we can influence those touch points. And so, again, just having a space where I have to, work for and work through a larger organization. It's what are those things that have the biggest impacts to the business? How can I work more closely with the business? And I believe once we start to show value, even if it's with one individual business, then we kind of bring those things together. Then we begin to tell the broader story about how employer branding is not just this piece. It's how we impacted this NPS score here, how we were able to influence, right? So it's really bringing all of those pieces together so that eventually we can say this is where we're tracking. So it's more for me an idea of a report card. So, we're doing B+. We're okay in employee experience, right? We're doing okay in engagement. Our awareness is increasing because there's so many different factors. But at the end of the day, getting to those one or two things that the executives are going to want to see is where we have to land. We got to land a plane there. That's what's going to get us the bucks.
You got to start somewhere. Well, look, I'm super excited about the report coming out. For those who are not watching, who are just listening to the audio, it's cxr.org/research, where you can grab that. It's going to be up there later today. You can download that. Again, it is free for anybody who wants it. Take this back to your teams, like digest this, work through this. If you've got points in there you think we should have doubled down on, or you think didn't get enough attention, tell us. Let us know. We're happy to talk about it. And one thing I'll call out as well, that's sort of a result of the last two research pieces that we did that sat squarely in the EB and the RM space, is the launch of the new talent brand community. This is a brand new, I'll throw the link up because nobody's going to believe me. It's actually a URL. It's just talentbrand.community. That is the domain. There's no .com. There's no .io. None of that. It's just talentbrand.community. It's an invitation only space. So if you know somebody that's in there, they can send you an invite. If you are in there, there's a big fancy button at the top that says invite. You can invite any other EB TA folks that you'd like, and the EB and the RM work. They can be on the vendor side, they can be on the practitioner side, but we're looking for a safe space. It is free for everybody to get in here and get engaged. We've got about 38, almost 40 folks that are already in here. There are over 100 threads that are taking place, and we've got a new one today. I'm poking at James Ellis, who we just love, but I'm poking at him about this renting space online for your employer brand. Like, do you invest in these social channels like a Twitter or like something else that poof can just implode or turn a corner that maybe your organization doesn't align with? So anybody who wants to be part of that, you should find somebody who's already in there. Get yourself an invite, but it's talentbrand.community. I'm excited to see both of you in there as well.
I'm excited to be the conversation that you just have is one of the conversations that we're having. So I better hop on and invite some folks.
I love it. Well, look, I'm going to ask both of you. We're going to ask you separately. Adam, I'm going to put you on the spot first. If you were going to write a book about this topic, right, about your take on this topic, what would the title of that book be?
Oh boy. Title of the book of the overall topic or the research?
Yeah, overall topic. Yeah.
That's a good one. It would be something akin to the most meaningful aspect of a company that many didn't even pay attention to.
Oh, I like that. All right.
Okay.
And Adam, Claire gets a cheat on both of these. Adam, present company excluded. Who would you give the first signed copy of that book to?
You, of course.
No, you can't do it.
Just so you know.
Honestly, I would give it to two of my leaders at Cox because they have been so incredibly supportive of employment brand within our organization. And it has been truly the foundation of our success is having, so we sit, actually my team sits within marketing. So I know sometimes we have that debate of marketing versus TA, but I have the utmost respect and the support from my marketing leaders within the company. So I would give a signed copy to them.
I love it. All right, Claire, you're up. What would the name of your book be?
Something like finding balance, the right mix of employment culture and authentic storytelling.
Okay.
Something like that.
And who gets that first signed copy?
Oh man, if my mother was alive, she would. because I wrote a book. Hello. Yeah, Mom, look at this. Yeah, so I'm gonna go the same route that Adam went, and I'm thinking about who are like the biggest players because I have a lot of support in this space at BASF. So I would say Udo Schultz, who is one of the individuals who started put together the idea of the global employer branding team. And then I would be remiss if I didn't give a copy to my leaders, specifically Lydia Everett and Jen Dwyer. Yeah,
love it.
Just because they place a certain level of trust in me and my abilities. And so, who else but to see sort of their fruit in the book. So yeah, I'll go that route.
I love it. Well, look, much gratitude to both of you, not just for being on the show today, giving us some valuable time, but also all the time that you spent on this last bit of research and weighing in and your expertise and your experience and your insights. So we really appreciate it. It makes up a large portion of what we've published out there to the industry. We're so excited to have you included on it. So much gratitude. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you for having us, for sure.
You bet. All right, past and future episodes, you can find them out at cxr.works/podcast. We try to keep our URLs pretty simple, but you can check those out and you can connect with anybody here that's part of the community and reach out. If you've got questions or you came in late or you just want to connect with anybody here, just reach out to us on LinkedIn. We're happy to make that happen. And with that, we will see everybody next week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the CXR channel. Please subscribe to CXR on your favorite podcast resource and leave us a review while you're at it. Learn more about CXR at our website, cxr.works. Facebook.com and Twitter.com/Career Crossroads, and on Instagram @CareerXroads. We'll catch you next time.